Welcome to Wild Treasures, our series that celebrates South Africa's wildlife conservation efforts. Now today we won't be focusing on a wild animal, but rather an animal that can help resolve human and carnivore conflict, the livestock guarding dog. For many years, humans have been living with dogs, generally as a pet or a guard for their homes. In fact, dogs are called a man or a woman's best friend. Over the years, dogs have performed tasks for us humans as hunters, assisting the blind, and the police in solving crimes. Dogs can also be bred to herd livestock. A livestock guarding dog is a special dog bred purposefully to guard livestock and protect them from predators such as leopards, cheetahs, jackals and hyenas. The use of these dogs started over 2,000 years ago, and it's said to originate from an ancient Greek tribe called the Molossians. These guarding dogs begin living with livestock as puppies, normally from when they are 5 weeks old. They grow up and become part and parcel of the flock. The size of the dogs vary, but livestock guarding dogs are generally large dogs that are gentle and friendly. Smaller livestock dogs are usually used not to protect the livestock, but rather to shepherd the flock, especially in areas that are difficult for the shepherds to get around. Livestock guarding dogs guards the livestock by blending within and looking out for intruders. There are times where the dogs will fight a predator, but generally their presence is usually enough to scare predators away. The dogs will bark and try to intimidate the predator by showing aggressive behavior before engaging in a fight. With most of our carnivores endangered, the use of livestock guarding dogs can help mend the rifts between farmers and predators. Livestock guarding dogs' sole purpose is to protect livestock and ensure the survival of carnivores that are living freely in the wild. Organizations like the Endangered Wildlife Trust have adopted this project 9 years ago.
The Livestock Guardian Dog project started in 2007 and it's been very successful. We've actually given out more than 180 dogs in the last 8 years.
The project aims to bridge the gap between South African farmers and some of the endangered carnivores that are found in many of the privately owned farms.
We noticed that there was a need to start protecting predators outside of protected areas, and the main beneficiaries of this project are actually the farmers. These livestock guardian dogs do a fantastic job in looking after farmers' livestock. But yeah, so the farmers are the main beneficiaries. We're also looking to get into communities. This dog here is actually a Maluti dog and comes from Lesotho. And they've been using these dogs for thousands of years to protect their livestock successfully in areas like Lesotho. And we just brought the project into South Africa, and we focus on areas such as the Mchalisberg, such as the Waterberg. These are core areas where we've got lovely populations of carnivores in the country, and we just feel that these areas is very important to protect the carnivores in those areas, because their carnivore gills are more or less intact. They've had these carnivores in these areas for hundreds of years. For example, in the Waterberg, they have wild dog there, they have cheetah, they have a leopard, and it's just very important for us to protect these carnivores in those areas. The Livestock Guardian Dog project was started because there was a need to address wildlife conflict on farms. And you know, we do a lot of work around the country protecting carnivores inside of protected areas, but there's very little work done on carnivores outside of protected areas. Now this is a wonderful method of protecting carnivores outside of protected areas on farmlands.
Like with any other project out there are some challenges that the Trust has faced.
Some of the challenges can be quite interesting. For example, you actually give these livestock guardian dogs out at between 6 and 8 weeks, and farmers' wives are very often, they fall in love with these puppies and don't want them to be out in the field. So the most important thing is that these dogs need to bond with cattle, not with humans. As soon as these dogs bond with humans, they become house dogs and they don't work actually in the field. Other challenges that we do face, they can be quite complex. Any dog, all dogs are different, so a lot of them develop different behavioral traits that aren't quite correct. So we actually, it's a 12-month process where we work with farmers with these dogs, and we visit these dogs every month, and any behavioral problems that these dogs do develop, we actually work. And because we've worked with so many dogs, we know how to solve these problems. But that's basically some of the challenges that we do face. But generally the dog trains itself. Once it's bonded to its livestock, they learn to look after the livestock and they actually train themselves.
There are various methods that farmers can use to guard livestock, but having a 24-hour watchdog living with the animals has proven to be effective over the years.
Where we've placed these dogs, the project has been very, very successful. Farmers' livestock predation rates have come down as much as 95%. So the project works, and you know, it's a non-lethal method of protecting farmers' livestock against predators, and the dogs work. You'll hear a little bit later from a farmer, but yeah, on the farms that we've actually placed these dogs, they're working perfectly.
There are many breeds preferred globally to guard livestock. In South Africa, the most preferred is the Anatolian and the Maluti dogs. Most local farmers used to import guarding dogs, with the Anatolian dog being the most preferred, simply because of the protective instinct it carries. Originally from Anatolia in Turkey, the dog is said to have good sight and hearing that helps it guard livestock effectively. It is also fast, large and strong, making it easy to scare off potential predators. Another preferred dog is the African Maluti dog, which is also intelligent, protective, and are able to stand off carnivores of any nature. Dog breeders like Matthew Berry saw the need to breed and develop dogs that could be used to guard sheep, goats, and cattle against predators.
I've been involved with dogs since about 1989. I started off in the old SADF being a dog handler, and then I progressed straight away to being a professional dog trainer. In 2004, I started working with my own livestock, and I acquired myself some imported breeds of dogs that were going to then guard our livestock. And I was a little bit dissatisfied with the performance. So having a deep understanding of canine behavior and also an interest in the local Afrikaner dog, I met up with a very good friend of mine, Johan Galant, who was involved with the Afrikaners project, and we went searching South Africa and especially Lesotho, and we found ourselves amongst the local population here, the rural farmers, the farmers that were working with flocks of sheep and goats. We found ourselves some really good dogs, and we selected these dogs for the innate characteristic of being attentive to their flock, to being able to guard, and also what we looked for, we wanted dogs that were resistant to local diseases, resistant to local parasites. We wanted dogs that cost less per day to feed, because they could then survive out there, and it became more economically viable for our local farmers to utilize these dogs in these environments. So we developed a nucleus of breeding stock, and this is what I've got today. If we look at all the dogs I've placed over the years with Endangered Wildlife Trust and other conservation organizations, with local farmers, we've probably placed near on 300 dogs in the last 10 years. And these dogs are very, very successful. Our success rate with them is probably 80% plus, okay? Whereas with some of the other breeds, we were only achieving 40% plus. These dogs have adapted very well to working extensively, meaning that they live out in the veld with the dogs, in the ranges, out in the mountains. They get checked on a daily basis, interacted with their shepherds, but they're able to work with those sheep, guard them against caracal, against jackal, against leopard. And the nice thing about the Maluti mountain dog is the fact that it's not an overly aggressive dog. What it does is it breaks the motor pattern of the predator, interrupts it, so that the predator then moves on and finds another source of food, rather than being aggressive and trying to chase it down like some of our other guardian breeds. So this really, from a point of view of being a valuable tool in predator conflict mitigation, is just what we need in South Africa. You know, it was bred in South Africa for South African conditions, with all of the needs that we have.
The process of developing the dogs is not an easy one, but of impeccable timing.
So the process of breeding the Maluti mountain dogs, basically what you do is you must have decent parent stock. So you start off with decent parent stock that are able to adapt and bond with livestock. From there, the puppies are born within the kraal or within the environment where the stock is, and you raise them up to about 6 to 10 weeks, dependent on when you're ready to place them. And the puppies then get placed with the farmer, and they're then raised as an individual with the livestock that the farmer is going to have, whether it's cattle, sheep, goats. You could even raise them with pigs or chickens. There's more involvement if you're raising them with smaller livestock. But generally, most of the farmers take the Maluti mountain dogs to be used with sheep, and they take them at about 8 weeks. They're placed in a pen in an isolated environment, so that they bond with the stock. And from there, the dog develops till it can go out into the fields and operate as a fully developed guardian dog.
Matthew prefers the African Maluti dogs as they are more used to the climate conditions in South Africa. They are also quite different from the dogs you would find in the urban and rural areas.
We have what we call low prey drives. That means you select a dog that doesn't have chase and kill instinct. The dog must have protectiveness and aggression, but it mustn't have the chasing instincts which are characteristic to some of the other dogs, especially your hunting breeds. So you're looking for something that is calm and relaxed around their stock, or people if they're raised in a family home, rather than something that wants to look for training all the time and wants to look for attention. You're looking for almost the opposite out of this breed. So you select for a completely different criteria.
Although dogs differ in character, these dogs have proven to be successful in making sure that carnivores don't pose a threat to livestock.
It generally takes the parent stock till about 2 years old to prove themselves. From there, then we'll have a litter, and generally 2 months after the litter is born, the puppies are ready to be placed. So it's a fairly quick process, but you have to monitor behavior. You have to make sure that you're producing puppies with the right temperament, because these pups have to work on their own and make decisions on their own and guard the flock against any predators. So you're looking for a really good dog with good character.
We're going to take a short break. When we return, we take a look at how farmers can benefit from the Livestock Guarding Project. Stay tuned.